Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's Position Update Alert. Today I'll be discussing Tesla and Bitcoin, but what is interesting with Tesla's price action today, obviously with the trade signal that I put out today, a long Tesla, buying Tesla, starting to accumulate a position, I am anticipating a technical bounce. Now, Tesla's chart is very, very intriguing because you can see the terrific sell-off that it has had from 198 all the way down to this 136 level. So that is a magnificent decline in Tesla. On a percentage move, that is a decline of basically 31% in a very short span. You're talking about maybe 2.5 weeks of trading. So to see a $1 trillion company basically wipe out almost 300 billion in a short span provides ample opportunity. Now, is there the probability that Tesla goes lower? Yes, there is, but you can clearly see that along with this downsloping parallel channel, which we've basically tagged to a T, you also complement that with the massive technical gap fill that we hit today and this huge multi-week consolidation period. Tesla is now at technical support. I do think it goes lower, but if you simply look where we bought it, we pretty much nailed the low. We bought it right at this impulse move bar breakout where you know there was a lot of buyers sitting on that initial surge and breakout. So Tesla is short-term oversold, and I do think we can start to see a bounce sooner rather than later. Even if the markets start to trend lower like the Qs and the Net and the S&P, Tesla can be one of those outlier stocks that diverges from the markets. That's what we have been seeing lately over the last couple weeks. Even in times of strength in the market like today, Tesla basically just closed negative on the session. So even though the Nasdaq was up substantially and the S&P was up, so perhaps even if we see declines in those indices, Tesla can start to diverge due to the fact that we have traded an abnormally high amount of volume. You have to think that obviously Elon was selling in this period as well. Perhaps he's still selling, but these are the level where accumulation is occurring and distribution is occurring. And at some market turn, usually when the volume starts to peter out, you'll get that snap back in price. And due to the fact that we are into support, massive support, I mean, just looking at your weekly chart, you can see the huge level. There's really not much support underneath this level until you start getting into this little bit of a range of support. But even if we trend lower, the next big buy will likely be at the low end of this pivot around 126.60. If it starts to trend lower than that, then we'll probably start looking to about the 111, 110 area. So there's a few levels that are basically layered in this area here. You can see we have this beautiful parallel channel. Arguably you have two massive support levels connecting your major pivots over here and your major pivot over here. If Tesla were to keep slamming in front of that level, I will accumulate a fairly large position because this is still a company that is generating cash flow, earning money. I don't agree with their valuation still, but it will provide a big bounce for those long-term believers that are just buying hand over fist. So I do love this Tesla setup right now. It is actually looking to be one of my favorite long charts. And considering we actually, before I flip to Bitcoin, considering we actually shorted Tesla, you can see my old line around 199.16. This has had an exceptional decline, and I do think we're going to get a snapback in price when you have short covering as well as that buying pressure. Taking a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's really interesting, and I want to observe something that happened intraday. So we're still technically failed this bullish pattern. You have kind of recaptured this original consolidation, but in my mind, this bull flag pattern is basically dead in the water, considering that you had your attempt to break out, you've confirmed the breakdown, and you have big reversal signals on the daily chart as well as the longer term perspective. But looking at the intraday chart, I just want to observe this 10-minute chart right at kind of near the market open. Bitcoin had a significant decline intraday. You can see by this massive volume trade on the 10-minute chart and also this big wick down. Price obviously got bought back up, but you've basically been bearishly consolidating inside of this range the whole day. And obviously the new candle, I believe, has started on Bitcoin, but you've been bearishly, or it starts in about a minute or so, minute and a half, but you've been bearishly consolidating inside of this wide range red candle, which makes me think we're going to head lower in the price action of Bitcoin. Whether or not this was a big whale dumping or a fund or a miner liquidating, when you start seeing these massive, quick, sharp sell-offs occur, it's never really a healthy price action, especially since the trends are all pointing to lower price action. So I think it's just a moment of time before we start to see this bear flag on the daily chart start to break lower and look to make new lows in the pattern. So we probably will have some support when we break these areas over here, but you have my big level. I still think that a massive accumulation range will likely hit sometime in January, where you can, if you're a longer term hodler, you can start accumulating Bitcoin for the long term, basically anywhere from 9,000 to 3,800. So really that sums it up for this little position video analysis, and we'll just have to continue to watch crypto carefully. Another crypto I want to bring up, just so that I can just so that we can get a sense of what the market dynamics are like. If we look at Solana, Solana's been a fan favorite, but if we look at the weekly chart on Solana, Solana's triggered this massive topping formation, clearly observed here with this weekly break of the neckline. On the daily chart, you have confirmed, and now you're looked to be putting inside bar bearish consolidation. So when you start seeing the bigger coins like this also trigger topping formations, which sends it to a price around 250 at the low end, that's about an 86% decline. And then you start to observe other coins that are putting in topping formations, such as BNB. You know, the BNB chart is very, very reminiscent of that FTT token. Basically, you have your head and shoulders, which you've triggered to the downside. You've had your retrace, failed to recapture the neckline, which means that this was a failed bullish attempt to recapture price action, and now you're likely heading lower. The downside target on this topping formation takes you to about 160, give or take. But like I said, once you're in this range, this massive parabolic range, you have no technical support. There are no levels. Basically, once we start triggering inside this range and get a weekly close inside there, I believe that we are susceptible to a big, big crash. And whether that coincides with some issues with the BNB token or something on the actual Binance platform, that still has to be seen to remain. So again, let's touch base on Ethereum. Ethereum's also putting in bearish consolidation on really all the time frames. You can see that this was the trend that you were consolidating in before you broke out, had your reversal, slammed all the way back down, never confirmed outside that range, but Ethereum's sell-off was magnificent amount of sell pressure on volume, so you have to naturally respect that. Anything considered inside of this red bar is now bearish consolidation, and just like it is over here, we have not confirmed outside of this initial red bar here. So there's clear sellers inside of this price action, inside of this price action, and inside of obviously this major price action that are keeping Ethereum and the crypto industry at bay. I ultimately think we will eventually break lower and test the low range of this parallel channel sooner rather than later. I won't be a buyer though at the low end of this range. Maybe if it came straight shot down to this double bottom around 879, 880, I would consider going along for a quick scalp trade. But I do think that this is a little bit of a riskier play. You probably do get some sort of a little bit of a bounce, but the risk to reward is probably not in favor of that in terms of what I look for in a trade. Please give this video a big like down below, and we'll stay tuned for more crypto action and test.